The warning lights turned red all at once. Taeho grabbed the controls of his small shuttle, but nothing worked anymore. The space around him twisted like water going down a drain. His stomach dropped as the shuttle spun faster and faster. "No, no, no," he said, hitting buttons that did nothing. The computer screen showed only static. Outside the window, stars stretched into long lines of light. Then everything went dark. When Taeho opened his eyes, pain shot through his whole body. Smoke filled the shuttle. Sparks flew from broken wires above his head. He could taste blood in his mouth. His left arm hung at a wrong angle, definitely broken. Through the cracked window, he saw trees that glowed blue and purple in the darkness. He tried to move but gasped in pain. His ribs were broken too. The shuttle door had been ripped off during the crash. Cool air came in, carrying strange smells like flowers and metal mixed together. Taeho managed to unbuckle his safety belt with his good hand. He fell forward onto the floor and cried out. "Need to get out," he whispered. Fire could start any moment. Using his good arm and legs, he dragged himself out of the wrecked shuttle. Every movement hurt so much he almost passed out. Finally, he collapsed on soft grass that felt like silk under his hands. The sky above was purple with 3 moons. The glowing trees surrounded him like giant nightlights. Beautiful, he thought, before everything went black again. Lyrae was collecting samples from the crystal flowers when she heard the explosion. The sound echoed across the valley, scaring away the small flying creatures she had been studying. She stood up quickly, her skin flashing from calm green to alert orange. "What was that?" her guard asked, hand on his weapon. "A crash," Lyrae said, already moving toward the sound. "Something fell from the sky." "Princess, we should call for backup first," the guard said, trying to keep up with her long strides. But Lyrae was already running. She had heard stories of ships crashing before, but never in her research sector. When she reached the clearing, she stopped so fast she almost fell. A strange metal pod sat smoking in the grass. It looked nothing like any Velaran ship she knew. "Stay back, Princess," her guard warned. "It could be dangerous." Lyrae ignored him and walked closer. The design was primitive but clever. Whoever built this worked with limited technology and made it stretch far. Then she saw the body lying in the grass. "By the stars," she breathed. The creature was tiny, maybe 2/3 her height. It had strange, solid skin that didn't change colors. Dark hair, red blood leaked from cuts on its face and arms. She had never seen anything like it in all her years of studying alien life. She knelt beside it and carefully turned it over. Male, she noted, his face twisted in pain even while unconscious. His arm was clearly broken. She pressed her hand to his chest and felt a heartbeat, fast and fluttering like a bird's. "He's alive," she said. "We need to move him now." "Princess, we don't know what it is," her guard protested. "He is a living being who is hurt," Lyrae said firmly. Her skin flashed royal purple, the color that meant her mind was made up. "We're taking him back to my lab. Now." The guard knew better than to argue when she used that tone. He called for transport, while Lyrae carefully examined the strange creature. His bones felt dense and hard, so different from Valoran cartilage structure. His skin stayed the same tan color no matter what. How did his species communicate emotions without color changes? Her medical team arrived within minutes. They loaded the unconscious alien onto a floating stretcher. Lyrae climbed in beside him, monitoring his vital signs with her portable scanner. The readings confused her. His body temperature was much warmer than any Valoran. His blood carried oxygen in a completely different way. But he was definitely dying. "Faster," she told her pilot. Back at her research facility, Lyrae worked through the night. Her medical staff had never treated anything like this creature before. They had to guess, using basic life support principles that worked for most carbon-based life. Lyrae set his broken bones using scans of his other arm as a guide. She stitched his cuts. She gave him nutrients through a tube. "Will he live?" her assistant asked. "I don't know," Lyrae admitted. "His body is fighting hard. He's stronger than he looks." For 3 days, Tejo stayed unconscious. Lyrae barely left his side. She studied every aspect of his biology. She found the damaged communication device in his suit and worked to decode his language. The computer slowly built a translation program from the data files in his device. On the 4th morning, his eyes opened. Tejo woke up staring at a ceiling made of crystal that seemed to grow from the walls. Soft blue light came from everywhere and nowhere. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. "Easy," a melodic voice said. He turned his head and almost screamed. A tall being stood beside his bed. She had to be 8 feet tall at least. Her skin was translucent and glowed with soft blue light from within. She had 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows of 3 across her elegant face. Her hair floated around her head like she was underwater. She was the most alien thing he had ever seen. She held up her hands, showing him she meant no harm. Her skin shifted from blue to gentle green. She spoke in sounds like singing mixed with chimes. A device on the wall flickered and spoke in Korean. "Don't be afraid. You are safe. I am Lyrae. You crashed on my planet. I brought you here to heal." Tejo stared at her. His brain tried to process everything. He was alive. He was on an alien planet. This beautiful, terrifying being had saved his life. Thank you," he managed to say. His throat was dry. Lyrae's skin flashed to warm yellow. The translator said, "She is pleased. She asks, 'What are you called?'" "Tejo," he said. I'm human. From Earth." "Human," Lyrae repeated through the translator. She moved closer, her 6 eyes examining him with fascination. "I have never heard of Earth. You are new to me. Wonderful and new." Over the next few days, Tejo learned he was far from any known human space. The spatial anomaly had thrown him across the galaxy. His ship was destroyed beyond quick repair, and Lyrae, this alien princess who saved him, wanted to know everything about humans and Earth. She brought him food that looked strange but tasted okay. She asked endless questions about his planet, his people, his culture. She was fascinated by the fact that his skin stayed one color. She spent an hour just watching his face change expressions instead. "Your species shows emotion with facial muscles," she said through the translator, amazed. "How inefficient. How wonderful." Tejo found himself laughing for the first time since the crash. Despite everything, despite being stranded and broken on an alien world, he felt oddly safe. Lyrae's curiosity was pure and kind. She treated him like a person, not a specimen. He had no idea that this was just the beginning, no idea that the curious princess studying him would change his entire life. No idea that he had just met his future wife. 2 months passed since the crash. Tejo's bones healed faster than Lyrae expected. He walked around her research facility now, exploring everything with human curiosity that matched her own. She found him in the strangest places, always fixing something. "What are you doing?" she asked one morning, finding him inside a wall panel with tools scattered around him. "Your environmental control system has a leak," Tejo said, not looking up from his work. "I can hear it clicking wrong. Give me 10 minutes. "That system is 200 years old," Lyrae said. "Our engineers said it cannot be fixed without replacing the whole unit." "Your engineers think too big," Tejo replied. He twisted something with a tool he made from scrap metal. The clicking stopped. "There. Just needed a small adjustment." Lyrae's skin flashed bright yellow with delight. Her engineers had wanted to spend months and massive resources replacing that system. This human fixed it in minutes with spare parts. She watched him climb out of the wall panel, oil on his hands and a proud smile on his face. "You are remarkable," she said. Tae-ho blushed, his face turning red. Lee-Ray had learned this meant embarrassment or pleasure in humans. She found it charming how his emotions showed on his skin in such subtle ways. "It's just basic repair work," he said, wiping his hands. "On Earth, if something breaks, you fix it. We can't always afford new things." "Tell me more about Earth," Lee-Ray said. She sat down on the crystal bench, eager as always to hear his stories. They spent hours like this now. Tae-ho would work on repairs around the facility, and Lee-Ray would follow, asking questions about everything. He told her about Korea, about the mountains and cities, about his family. He told her about human history, about wars and peace, about art and music. "We have a word, Jung," he explained one day while showing her pictures on his recovered data pad. "It means connection, deeper than friendship. It's the feeling you get with people who matter to you. Heart connection." "We have no word for this," Lee-Ray said, fascinated. "Valorans have family bonds and duty bonds and alliance bonds. But this Jung, this is different." "Yeah," Tae-ho said softly. "It's special." Their friendship grew deeper each day. Lee-Ray showed Tae-ho her planet, taking him on expeditions to gather materials for his ship repair. She taught him to read the stars by their harmonic frequencies, something Valorans could sense naturally. He taught her to cook human food, though her first attempt at making rice nearly started a fire. "How did you burn water?" Tae-ho asked, laughing as he put out the small flames. "I don't know." Lee-Ray's skin flashed embarrassed pink. "Your instructions said boil." "I'll teach you again," Tae-ho said, still grinning. "Slowly this time." He did teach her, standing close to guide her hands. Lee-Ray noticed how warm humans felt compared to Valorans, how his heartbeat sounded steady and strong, how his laugh made her skin shift to happy gold without her meaning to. She was developing feelings she didn't fully understand. Valorans didn't fall in love the way humans did. They made logical partnerships based on compatibility. But when Tae-ho smiled at her, logic seemed less important. The turning point came during a supply expedition to the Crystal Caves. They needed rare minerals to repair Tae-ho's ship core. Lee-Ray knew the caves well and promised they were safe. They were not. The creature came from nowhere. A massive serpent made of living crystal, its body 20 feet long and thick as a tree. Its eyes glowed red as it spotted them. These serpents were territorial and deadly. "Run!" Lee-Ray shouted, pushing Tae-ho behind her. But the serpent was faster. It lunged at Lee-Ray, jaws open wide. Tae-ho didn't run. Instead, he grabbed a broken crystal shard from the ground and threw himself between Lee-Ray and the serpent. "Hey! Over here!" he yelled, waving his arms. The serpent turned to this smaller, louder target. Tae-ho ran, leading it away from Lee-Ray. He was much smaller and slower than the serpent. It should have caught him in seconds, but Tae-ho was clever. He ran between tight crystal formations where the big serpent couldn't follow easily. He threw rocks to confuse it. He used every trick he knew from years of survival training. Lee-Ray watched in horror and amazement as this small human outsmarted a predator that had killed trained Valoran warriors. Finally, Tae-ho led the serpent into a narrow canyon. He had noticed earlier that the walls there were unstable. He threw one last rock at the creature, then ran as fast as he could. The angry serpent charged after him, slamming into the canyon walls. The crystal cracked and collapsed, trapping the serpent under tons of rubble. Tae-ho made it out just in time. Then he collapsed, breathing hard. Lee-Ray ran to him. He had deep cuts on his arms and legs from the sharp crystal. Blood soaked through his clothes. He had risked his life for her without hesitation. "You fool," she said, her skin flashing through purple fear and red panic. "You beautiful, brave fool. You could have died." "Couldn't let it hurt you," Tae-ho said, wincing as she examined his wounds. "You saved my life when I crashed. Fair is fair." "This is more than fair," Liray said quietly. In Velaran culture, what Taeho did meant something profound. He had placed her life above his own. He had faced a superior enemy to protect her. This was the highest form of devotion. She could offer him a soul bond. The thought came to her clearly. By Valoran law and custom, she had that right after what he did. A soul bond was the deepest connection two Valorans could share. A permanent partnership of life and purpose. But Taeho was human. He didn't know Valoran customs. She would need to teach him, to court him properly, to make sure he understood what such a bond meant. Starting that evening, Liray began the traditional Valoran courtship. She brought Taeho gifts of rare minerals from deep caves, each one chosen for its beauty. She sang to him at dawn, the harmonic songs that meant devotion. She asked him to share her living space. "I have extra rooms in my quarters," she said. "You've been staying in the medical wing for months. You should have a real home while you're here." "That's really kind," Taeho said, accepting. "Thank you, Liray, for everything." He had no idea he had just accepted the first step of a marriage proposal. He thought she was being a good friend. Liray thought he understood and was agreeing to court her back. The misunderstanding had begun. Over the following weeks, Liray continued the courtship rituals. She shared her finest foods with him. She gave him access to her private library. She asked him to wear a crystal band she made herself. "What's this for?" Taeho asked, admiring the delicate blue crystal woven into a bracelet. "It means you are precious to me," Liray said, which was true. What she didn't say was that in Velaran culture, accepting such a band meant you accepted the giver's romantic intentions. "You're precious to me too," Taeho said, putting it on. "I'm lucky I crashed near you instead of somewhere else." Liray's skin glowed warm gold. He cared for her too. This was going perfectly. Finally came the day she asked the final question. "Taeho," she said, her skin shifting through nervous patterns. "Will you share my dwelling for the remainder of your days? Will you walk beside me as long as we both live?" Taeho heard it through the translator and understood it as a generous offer of permanent housing and friendship. He had been worried about what would happen after his ship was repaired. Earth was so far away. The thought of leaving Liray hurt more than he wanted to admit. "Yes," he said, smiling. "I'd like that. I'd like that a lot." Liray's skin burst into brilliant rainbow colors, cycling through every shade of joy. She had just received his acceptance of marriage. Taeho thought she was just really happy he'd be staying. Neither of them realized the mistake, but they would soon enough. The ceremony happened 3 days later. Taeho woke up to find Liray's attendants outside his door, their skin colors bright with excitement. "The bonding ceremony is prepared," one of them said through the translator. "Please come with us." "Bonding ceremony?" Taeho asked, confused. "What ceremony?" "To formalize your soul bond with Princess Liray," another attendant explained, as if this was obvious. "As you agreed." Taeho followed them because he didn't know what else to do. Maybe this was some Valoran friendship ritual. He had agreed to live with Liray after all. Maybe they had ceremonies for that kind of thing. They brought him to a beautiful garden where crystal flowers grew in rainbow colors. Liray stood in the center, wearing flowing robes that caught the light. Her skin glowed with soft pink and gold patterns. She looked amazing. Around them, dozens of Valorans watched, their skins all showing happy colors. "Taeho," Liray said, reaching out her hand. "Come stand with me." He took her hand, still not understanding. Music started, if you could call it music. The Valorans sang in harmonics that made his bones vibrate pleasantly. It was beautiful and strange. Lee Ray's attendants came forward with thin crystal bands. They wove the crystals around Tai-Ho and Lee Ray's wrists, connecting them with delicate chains of light. The singing got louder. Lee Ray spoke words in her language that the translator didn't pick up, probably because they were ceremonial. She looked at him with all 6 eyes full of emotion. Then it was over. Everyone cheered, their skins flashing happy yellows and golds. Lee Ray squeezed his hand, her skin the brightest gold he'd ever seen on her. "We are bonded now," she said softly, "for all our days." "That was beautiful," Tai-Ho said, smiling. "Is this like a roommate welcoming thing?" Lee Ray's skin flickered with confusion, but the moment passed. She decided he was making one of his human jokes. She had learned that humans often joked about serious things when emotional. Life changed after the ceremony. Tai-Ho moved his few belongings into Lee Ray's quarters in the royal wing of the research facility. The rooms were huge and beautiful, way nicer than the medical wing. He got his own bedroom connected to Lee Ray's through a shared common area. But he started noticing strange things. The guards bowed deeper to him now. Other Valorans who visited the facility called him Prince Consort through the translator. He had access to secure areas he couldn't enter before. Lee Ray's attendants treated him like he was royalty. "Why is everyone acting weird?" he asked Lee Ray one evening. "Weird how?" she asked, looking up from her research notes. "They keep calling me Prince and bowing. And yesterday someone asked me to approve a building permit, like I have authority here." Lee Ray's skin shifted to confused purple. "But you are my bonded partner. You share my rank and responsibilities now. This is normal." "Bonded partner?" Tai-Ho repeated slowly. Something cold formed in his stomach. "Lee Ray, what exactly did that ceremony mean?" "The soul bonding," she said, still looking confused. "As you agreed when you accepted my courtship and said you would share my dwelling for all your days. We are bonded for life now, married, as I think your language calls it." The room went very quiet. "Married?" Tai-Ho whispered. "Yes," Lee Ray said. Then she saw his face go pale. "Tai-Ho, what's wrong?" I thought, oh no." He sat down hard on a crystal chair. "Lee Ray, I didn't know. I thought you were offering me a place to stay. I thought we were friends. I didn't know I was agreeing to marriage." Lee Ray's skin went completely white, the Veloran color for shock. "But the gifts, the dawn songs, the crystal band, these are all courtship rituals. You accepted them all." "I thought you were being nice," Tai-Ho said, his voice rising with panic. "I thought it was friendship. We don't have the same customs on Earth. I didn't know what any of it meant." They stared at each other. The truth settled between them like a heavy weight. They had gotten married by accident. A complete misunderstanding of cultures and customs and translations. "We can undo it," Lee Ray said quickly, though her skin had gone to sad gray. "If you want. Soul bonds can be dissolved if both parties agree within the first year." Tai-Ho stopped. He should say yes. He should undo this mistake. But as he looked at Lee Ray, at her 6 eyes now dim with sadness, at her skin showing emotions she couldn't hide, he realized something. He didn't want to undo it. Somewhere in the past months, between the conversations and the laughter and the expeditions and the cooking lessons, he had fallen for this alien princess. He loved how she got excited about new discoveries. He loved how she hummed while she worked. He loved her terrible sense of direction and her endless curiosity and the way she looked at him like he was something wonderful. "Lee Ray," he said slowly, "if you had known I didn't understand, would you still have wanted to bond with me?" "Yes," she said immediately. Her skin flashed to honest blue. "I have developed deep feelings for you, Tai-Ho. Feelings Velorans are not supposed to have. We choose partners logically, but my choice of you was not logical. It was emotional. I wanted to bond with you because I cannot imagine my life without you in it. Taeho's heart pounded. I feel the same way. I think I've been falling in love with you for weeks now. I was just too scared to admit it because you're a princess, and I'm just a mechanic, and we're different species, and it seemed impossible. Nothing is impossible, Lyrae said, and hope crept into her skin colors, turning them lighter. Then I don't want to undo it, Taeho said. He stood up and walked to her, taking her hands in his much smaller ones. I don't care that it was an accident. I don't care that we're from different worlds. I want to be with you, Lyrae. For real this time. Not by accident, but on purpose. Lyrae's skin blazed into rainbow colors, cycling through every shade of joy and love and relief. You mean this? Truly? I mean it, Taeho said. Then he did something very human. He pulled her down and kissed her. Valorans didn't kiss. They pressed foreheads together to show affection. But Lyrae learned fast. When they finally pulled apart, she was glowing so bright she lit up the whole room. I love you, Taeho said. The translator spoke the words in Valoran, but also in something deeper. Something that needed no translation. I love you too, Lyrae said in Korean, the words heavily accented but perfect to his ears. They had 1 week of perfect happiness. 1 week of being together openly, of learning each other, of building a real relationship. 1 week before everything got complicated. The message came on the 8th day. A Valoran military ship had entered the planet's orbit. On board was Queen Matriarch Silvara, Lyrae's mother, coming to check on her daughter who hadn't reported to the capital in over a year. Lyrae's skin went pale silver with dread when she read the message. What's wrong? Taeho asked. My mother is coming, Lyrae said quietly. I haven't told her about you. I was supposed to return to the capital months ago to meet potential bonding partners from noble families. She will be very angry. Then we'll tell her together, Taeho said. We'll explain everything. You don't understand, Lyrae said, her skin flashing anxious purple. My mother is the queen. She has ruled for 300 years. She has never approved a bonding between a Valoran and another species. Never. And you are not just another species, you are an unknown species. She will demand we dissolve the bond. Then we'll convince her, Taeho said with more confidence than he felt. I didn't face down a crystal serpent to lose you now. Lyrae looked at him, this small, brave human who somehow loved her back. She arrives tomorrow, she said. I wanted to hide you, to keep you safe from her judgment. But that wouldn't be right. No, Taeho agreed. We face this together. That night, Lyrae barely slept. She tried to plan what to say, how to explain. Taeho held her hand in the darkness, his warmth comforting against her cooler skin. The next day, Queen Silvara's ship landed like a falling mountain. The queen herself stood 9 feet tall, her skin permanent platinum that never changed color, a mark of absolute control. She radiated power and authority. Her guards surrounded her like a living wall. Lyrae went to greet her mother in the throne room of the facility. She planned to talk to her first, to explain before introducing Taeho. But Taeho had other ideas. He walked into the throne room just as Silvara was lecturing Lyrae about duty and responsibility and proper behavior for a princess. His footsteps echoed on the crystal floor. Every Valoran turned to stare at this tiny, unknown creature who dared interrupt the queen. Silvara stopped mid-sentence. She stared at Taeho with all 6 eyes. The silence could have shattered stone. Mother, Lyrae said in a voice that shook. This is Taeho. He is my soul-bonded partner. The words hung in the air. Silvara's expression didn't change, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Then the queen spoke, her voice deep and commanding. Why is my daughter calling you her spouse, human? Taeho had faced many scary things in his life: spatial anomalies, crash landings, crystal serpents. But nothing compared to Queen Silvara staring down at him with 6 eyes that could freeze stars. He did the only thing he knew. He bowed in the traditional Korean manner, deep and respectful. "Your Majesty," he said clearly, "I am Lieutenant Taeho of Earth. I crashed on this planet many months ago. Your daughter saved my life when I was dying. She healed me and gave me shelter." He straightened up and met her eyes, even though his knees felt weak. "In return, I offered her everything I have: my skills, my protection, my life. Among my people, this is also a form of marriage." "You offered her your life," Silvara repeated. Her voice was cold as space. "What life? You are a primitive creature from an unknown world. You have no title, no rank, no property. You bring nothing to this union." "Mother, please," Lire started, but Silvara raised one hand for silence. "I am speaking to your husband," she said, making the word sound like an insult. "Let him answer for himself." Taeho felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting angry wouldn't help. "You're right," he said. "I have no title. I was just a mechanic on an exploration ship. I have no wealth. Everything I owned burned in the crash. But I love your daughter. I will spend every day of my life proving I'm worthy of her." "Love," Silvara said. "Valorans do not bond for love. We bond for strength, for alliance, for the good of the Empire. What good does this bond bring to my daughter or my people?" "I make her happy," Taeho said simply. "Isn't that worth something?" The Queen's skin stayed platinum, showing nothing. "Happiness is temporary. Power endures. I could dissolve this bond with a single command. Give me one reason why I should not." Lire stepped forward, her skin flashing angry red. "Because I love him, Mother. Because he is brave and clever and kind. Because he sees me as Lire, not as Princess Lire or a political tool. That is worth everything." "Sentiment," Silvara said dismissively. But something flickered in her eyes. She looked at her daughter's glowing colors, at the way she stood protectively near the small human. "Very well. I will not dissolve the bond immediately, but this human must prove himself worthy. I propose 3 trials, the traditional tests we give to all who would join noble families." "Mother, those tests are designed for Valorans," Lire protested. "They're impossible for other species." "Then he will fail, and we will know he is not worthy," Silvara said. Her skin finally showed a color, a deep, challenging purple. "Unless you lack confidence in your chosen partner." It was a trap, and everyone knew it. If Lire defended Taeho too much, she admitted he was weak. If she stayed silent, she abandoned him. "I'll do it," Taeho said before Lire could answer. "Whatever the trials are, I'll face them." Silvara's lips curved in something that might have been a smile. "Brave words. We shall see. The first trial begins tomorrow. The test of knowledge. You will solve a problem that has stumped our greatest scientists for 50 years. That night, Lire paced her quarters like a caged animal, her skin flashing anxious patterns. "The test of knowledge is impossible," she said. "It's a quantum mathematics problem related to faster-than-light travel. Our scientists have tried everything. Some of the smartest minds in the Empire have failed." "Then I'll probably fail too," Taeho said calmly. He sat on the crystal couch, thinking. "But I won't give up without trying. Tell me about the problem." Lire explained it as simply as she could. The problem involved calculating stable pathways through quantum space. Valorans had the theory perfect, but the practical application always failed. The math said it should work. Reality said it didn't. "Can I see the actual data?" Taeho asked. "The failed experiments?" "Why? You're not a quantum physicist." "No, but I am a mechanic. Sometimes the problem isn't in the theory. It's in how you're applying it." Li Ray brought him every file on the project. Tae-ho stayed up all night reading, making notes, building small models from scrap materials. Li Ray watched him work, seeing that focus she loved, the way he attacked impossible problems by breaking them into small pieces. The next morning, they went to the testing chamber. Queen Silvara sat on a high throne with her advisors around her. The Empire's top scientists filled the room, all curious about this human who thought he could solve their problem. They presented the equations to Tai-ho on a holographic display. He studied them for a long time, so long that some Valorans started whispering that he had given up. Then he spoke. "The math is perfect," he said. "The problem is you're thinking too big." "Explain," Silvara commanded. "You're trying to create perfect, stable pathways through quantum space," Tae-ho said. "But quantum space doesn't want to be perfect. It's messy by nature. You're fighting against what it wants to do naturally." He manipulated the hologram, showing them his models. Instead of forcing stability, work with the instability. Use smaller, flexible pathways that adapt as they go, like... He searched for words. "Like sailing with the wind instead of against it." The scientists looked at each other. One of them, an elderly Valoran, gasped. "It's so simple. Why didn't we see it?" "Because you were looking for elegant solutions," Tae-ho said. "Humans can't afford elegant. We use what works." They ran his equations through their computers. The numbers worked. More than worked, they were brilliant in their simplicity. The room erupted in excited discussion. Scientists crowded around Tai-ho, asking questions, their skins bright with intellectual excitement. Silvara watched it all with her unreadable platinum expression. Finally, she raised her hand for silence. "The human has passed the first trial," she announced. "Tomorrow the second trial, the test of strength." Li Ray squeezed Tai-ho's hand, her skin glowing with pride. He had done it. 1 down, 2 to go. The test of strength surprised everyone. It wasn't physical combat, it was diplomacy. "The Krell Dominion threatens our eastern borders," Silvara explained in the briefing room the next morning. "They refuse all diplomatic contact with us. Our ambassadors cannot get them to negotiate. You will go to their station and establish communication." "Why won't they talk to you?" Tae-ho asked. "They say we are too proud," one of the Valoran advisors said. "That we look down on them because they are smaller and less advanced. They refuse to meet with us." Tae-ho almost laughed. "So you're sending me because I'm small and from a less advanced species?" "Precisely," Silvara said. "If you are truly useful to the Empire, prove it. Make them talk to us." The trip to the Krell station took 6 hours by fast ship. Li Ray insisted on coming with him. The Krell were reptilian beings, even smaller than humans, with scales that changed colors with their moods much like Valorans. The Krell leader, Ambassador Kess, agreed to meet Tae-ho only because he was curious about this new species. "You are not Valoran," Kess said, his scales showing suspicious green. "No, I'm human," Tae-ho said, "from a planet very far from here. I only met Valorans a few months ago myself." "And you work for the Queen?" Kess's scales darkened with distrust. "No," Tae-ho said honestly. "I'm married to her daughter. The Queen doesn't think I'm good enough. She sent me here to fail." Kess blinked in surprise. Then his scales shifted to amused yellow. "I like you already. You are honest. Valorans are never honest." "They're honest," Tae-ho said. "They're just formal. Look. I know the Valorans can seem arrogant. They're tall, they're advanced, they've been powerful for centuries, but they're not bad people. They just don't know how to talk to others as equals because they've been on top for so long." "And you think we should forgive this?" Kess asked. "No," Tae-ho said. "I think you should teach them. The Valoran Empire needs allies, not subjects. They need people who will tell them when they're wrong. The Queen sent me here to make you talk to them, but honestly, they need to talk to you more than you need to talk to them." He pulled out his data pad. I brought something to share. Where I come from, when we want to make peace, we share a meal. Would you and your people be willing to eat with me? No politics, no negotiations, just food and conversation. Kes studied him for a long moment. Then his scales shifted to curious blue. What kind of food? Teho grinned. Have you ever had kimchi? 3 hours later, Teho and Kes were laughing together over human food while their staffs mixed cautiously. Teho talked about Earth, about humanity's struggles and mistakes and small victories. Kes talked about the Krell, about their pride and their fears of being absorbed by larger empires. By the end of the meal, Kes agreed to send a delegation to Valoran space. Not because Tai-Ho forced or tricked him, because they had become friends. When Tai-Ho returned to report success, even Silvara looked impressed. You have passed the second trial, she said, but the third trial is the most important. Tomorrow you will face the test of worthiness. You must answer one question. What can humanity offer the Valoran Empire? What value do your people bring to the galaxy that justifies this union between my daughter and you? Teho's stomach sank. This was the real test. Everything else had been practice. Now he had to prove not just himself, but all of humanity, worthy of standing beside beings like the Valorans. He had one night to find an answer. Teho didn't sleep that night. He sat in the workshop he had claimed as his own space, surrounded by tools and half-finished projects. Lyrae found him there at dawn, still awake and working on something. What are you building? She asked softly. An answer, he said. He looked tired but determined. I can't just tell your mother what humanity offers. I have to show her. Teho, you don't have to prove anything to me, Lyrae said. Her skin glowed soft pink with affection. I already know your worth. But your mother doesn't, Teho said. And she's not wrong to question. Humans are young. We're primitive compared to Valorans. We have so little to offer in terms of technology or resources. He turned back to his work. But we have something else, something the Valoran Empire has forgotten. What? Lyrae asked. The ability to fail and try again, Teho said. The creativity that comes from having nothing. The stubbornness to keep going when logic says quit. He held up a small device. Help me test this? They worked through the morning. By the time the third trial began, Teho had dark circles under his eyes but hope in his expression. The throne room was packed. News of the human facing the Queen's trials had spread through the facility and beyond. Scientists, diplomats, guards, and staff all crowded in to watch. Queen Silvara sat on her throne like a statue of judgment. Lieutenant Teho of Earth, she said formally. You stand before the Valoran Empire to answer one question. What does humanity offer? What value do your people bring that justifies your union with my daughter, a princess of the realm? The Valoran Empire has stood for 10,000 years. We have technology you cannot imagine. We have resources beyond counting. We have achieved perfection in countless fields. What can your primitive species possibly give us that we do not already have? The room went silent. Every eye was on Teho. He stood in the center of the hall, tiny compared to the towering Valorans around him. For a moment he looked very small and very alone. Then he spoke. You're right about everything, he said. Humans are young. We've only been in space for 200 years. We fight among ourselves. We make mistakes. We struggle with problems you solved millennia ago. By every logical measure, we have nothing to offer you. Murmurs went through the crowd. Lyrae's skin flashed worried purple. Was he giving up? But, Teho continued, his voice growing stronger, there's something you need to understand about humanity. We don't know when to quit. We solve impossible problems because we're too stubborn to accept they're impossible. We make friends out of enemies because we believe people can change. We create beauty from nothing because hope is free and imagination costs nothing. He pulled out the device he had built. Your Majesty, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a diplomat, I'm just a mechanic. But in the months I've been here, I've fixed dozens of things your engineers said couldn't be repaired. Not because I'm smarter than them, because I look at problems differently. He activated the device. A hologram appeared showing Valoran power systems. Your energy systems are the most advanced in the galaxy, but they're also incredibly complex. Every component is perfect, which means when one fails, the whole system needs replacing. Expensive and time-consuming. He manipulated the display. I studied your systems. I combined Valoran energy theory with human improvisation techniques. This modification makes your systems 40% more efficient and modular. If one part breaks, you can replace just that part, not the whole system. It's not elegant. It breaks half the rules of proper Valoran engineering. But it works. The court scientist, the same elderly Valoran from the first trial, moved forward to examine the specs. His skin flickered through excited colors. This is revolutionary. How did you even think of this? Because on Earth, we can't afford to throw things away when they break, Tejo said. We have to fix them. We have to make them last. That limitation forced us to be creative in ways unlimited resources never would. He turned back to Silvara. That's what humanity offers, Your Majesty. A fresh perspective. We're not better than Valorans. We're just different. You've spent 10,000 years perfecting everything until you've forgotten what it's like to struggle. We're still struggling. And in that struggle, we've learned things you've forgotten. Such as? Silvara asked. Her tone was neutral, but she was listening. Such as how to fail and get back up, how to make something from nothing, how to hope when logic says there's no hope left. Tejo's voice grew passionate. You asked what humanity brings to the galaxy. We bring resilience. We bring fresh ideas born from limitation. We bring the willingness to try things that seem impossible. And most importantly, we bring friendship freely given, not because it's logical or profitable, but because we believe in connection. He gestured to Lyrae. Your daughter saved my life when she had no reason to. I fell in love with her not because she's a princess, but because she has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. That's not a Valoran thing or a human thing. That's just a person thing. And if humanity and Valorans can build bridges like that, think of what we could create together. The room was absolutely silent. Every Valoran stared at this small human, who spoke with such conviction. Then Silvara spoke, and her voice was not cold anymore. You speak well for your species, but I have one final question. She leaned forward on her throne. In 1 human century, you will die. My daughter will live for 5 more centuries after you are gone. She will spend 80% of her life mourning you. How is that fair to her? How can you ask her to bond with you knowing you will leave her so soon? It was the question Tejo had dreaded, the question he had no good answer for. He looked at Lyrae, saw her skin flickering with sad gray colors. She had thought about this too. They both had. It's not fair, he admitted quietly. You're right. By all logic, she should choose someone who will live as long as she does. Someone who can give her centuries together instead of just decades. He walked toward Lyrae and took her hands. But love isn't logical. Love is choosing to be happy now even when you know it won't last forever. Love is deciding that some people are worth the pain of losing them. He turned back to Silvara. I can't give your daughter centuries. I can only give her years. But I can make every one of those years worth living. I can make her laugh every day. I can support her dreams. I can love her completely for as long as I breathe. And when I'm gone, she'll have memories. She'll have the technology I helped develop. She'll have the friendships I helped build. She'll have proof that different species can love each other. Tears ran down his face now. Maybe that's worth something too. Maybe showing the galaxy that love transcends species and time and logic. Maybe that's a legacy that lasts longer than any one lifetime. I don't know. All I know is that I love her and she loves me, and that has to count for something. Lyrae was glowing so bright she lit up the whole room, cycling through every color that meant love and joy and pain and hope all mixed together. She pulled Tejo close, not caring that everyone was watching. Silvara stood from her throne. She walked down the steps slowly, each footfall echoing in the silent chamber. She stopped in front of Tejo and Lyrae. Then, for the first time in decades, Queen Silvara's platinum skin changed color. It shifted to soft silver, the shade of acceptance. "You have passed all 3 trials," she said. "More than that, you have taught me something I had forgotten. The Valoran Empire has grown complacent in our perfection. We have no enemies because no one dares challenge us. We have no innovation because we believe we have already achieved everything worth achieving. We have forgotten how to dream." She looked at her daughter. "Lyrae, you chose well. This human is not perfect. His species is not powerful. But he brings something we desperately need. Change. The courage to be imperfect. The willingness to fail and try again." Silvara placed one hand on Tejo's shoulder. "I give my blessing to this union, but I have conditions." "Anything," Tejo said. "You will establish an embassy for Earth on Valoran Prime. Humanity will have its first formal contact with a galactic empire. You will serve as the bridge between our peoples." Her skin flickered with something that might have been amusement. "After all, if my daughter's husband is human, then humans are now part of the royal family. The Empire must know your species." Yes, Your Majesty," Tejo said, stunned. "But I'm just a mechanic. I don't know anything about diplomacy." "You convinced the Krell to talk to us after 50 years of silence," Silvara pointed out. "You solved problems our best scientists could not. You won my daughter's heart and earned my respect. I think you will make an excellent ambassador." She turned to address the full court. "Let it be known throughout the Empire. Princess Lyrae is soul bonded to Lieutenant Tejo of Earth. Their union is recognized and blessed. And the human species is hereby welcomed as friends of the Valoran Empire." The court erupted in cheers. Valorans flashed happy colors like fireworks. Lyrae kissed Tejo right there in front of everyone, not caring about protocol or propriety. Later that night, after the celebration, after the formal announcements, after everything calmed down, Tejo and Lyrae stood on the balcony of her quarters looking up at the stars. "I need to send a message to Earth," Tejo said. "They probably think I'm dead." "What will you tell them?" Lyrae asked, leaning against him. "The truth," Tejo said with a grin. "Lieutenant Tejo reporting. First contact established with the Valoran Empire. Diplomatic relations opened. Also, I accidentally got married to an alien princess, and her mom is now technically my mother-in-law. Please send help." Lyrae laughed, the sound like music. "Your mother will be very surprised." "My mother is going to ask so many questions," Tejo groaned. "How do I explain this? How do I explain you? How do I explain that her son is now a prince of an alien empire?" "The same way you explained everything to my mother," Lyrae said. Her skin glowed warm gold in the starlight. "With honesty and love and terrible jokes." "Terrible jokes?" Tejo protested. "Your jokes are terrible," Lyrae confirmed. "I love them anyway." They stood together looking at the stars, a human and a Valoran, different in every way except the one that mattered. They loved each other. And somehow, despite spatial anomalies and cultural misunderstandings and species differences and the vastness of space itself, they had found each other. "You know what's funny?" Tejo said. "If my ship hadn't malfunctioned, if I hadn't crashed exactly here, we never would have met." Then I am grateful for malfunctions, Liray said. Me too, Tejo agreed. He pulled out his communication device and started composing the message to Earth. It was going to be the strangest first contact report in human history, but then again, nothing about his life had been normal since that crash, and he wouldn't change a single thing. Far above them, human ships would eventually arrive, bringing diplomats and scientists and all the chaos of first contact. The Valoran Empire would change. Humanity would change. The whole galaxy would change because one mechanic crashed on the right planet and fell in love with the right princess. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, Tejo just held Lyray's hand and watched the 3 moons rise over the crystal forests, perfectly happy with his beautiful, impossible, accidental life.